Shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'm going to give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who teach and rule well. Peace and citations to the Lord's elect and the 1/3. And shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel, which includes you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and you Israelite foreigners that be like unto the speckled bird. I'm the brother Barak, and Lord willing, this will be another edifying lesson. And the topic of this lesson is, don't just let Edomites come in your home, right? Don't let these Edomites get too close, right? I'm mainly speaking about the Edomite man, because as you know, we're allowed to deal with these heathens. The Edomite woman. We're still allowed to deal with these people. We can still take the Edomite woman, right? However, you gotta be careful, right? Because these people are disgusting, dirty, lying, fucking people, and it's a personal testimony. Someone we thought who was an Israelite, we let this dude in our house, and this man was a fucking dirty, lying piece of shit. I'm just saying that right now. These people are lying devils, and it's in their DNA, and you cannot trust these people, right? Granted, you can deal with their woman on a carnal level, right? But these Edomite men, don't be giving them handouts, don't be helping them, don't be giving them a house or anything, don't be letting them stay in your room, none of that shit. And I'm gonna bring the scripture out before I get into a personal story that I like to share, right? 2 Corinthians 11:14, it says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light." And this is what these fucking Edomite devils are, man. They come in acting all nice, all proper, and then next thing you know, they start asking you for favors, and then you help these people, and then these are the same people that once they have everything they get from you, they just fucking turn on you. They act like that you never helped them, and that's in their nature, man. Because this devil Esau wants everything to himself. Now, a personal testimony or a personal story, right? There was this one Edomite who thought, we give him, this guy might be a Jake, this guy might be a speckled bird, right? Which, you got to be careful who you call speckled bird, because, or Israelite foreigner, which is I guess you can say the correct term for it, right? Because, these people they'll just use, they'll go as far as, making themselves seem like, they're interested in calling on the right names. They're interested in calling on Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. They're interested in, you're in this truth or whatever. But, what does the scripture say? The election have obtained it, the rest were blinded, right? These people, they don't actually care. They just want shit from you, right? Then they go off, and then once they, then they'll start using other names in front of other people to blend in, right? Because this devil, he just blends in. He don't really care about this truth, right? The Edomites, they're not going to be able to receive this truth, right? And there's Edomite. Basically, we let him stay at our one of our spots, one of our houses, right? And this guy was basically a fucking slob, man. Piece of shit. Guy didn't want to clean anything, right? Didn't want to follow basic instructions, right? Basic orders. Trying to do like these little shit tests, which we can tell, man. We can see right through you, fucking devil, right? And really what comes down to is, this man was a lying, a gray area liar, right? Doing these little white lies, not saying things like, not that I know of, not that I recall, right? These people, it's written in their DNA to be, homosexual, right? Do bestiality, rapist, you know, um, and you know, these people are, at the end of the day, these are the same people that, were doing all these wicked things to our forefathers in slavery, right? They were doing such wicked things to Jake, man. So these people are gonna pay. And this guy would basically, he believes, he's a Gentile grafted in, which is, completely bugged out. These Gentiles, they can't, they're gonna be grafted in as slaves. They're not gonna be grafted into Israel. They're gonna be fucking destroyed, or they're gonna be put into captivity. That's it, right? But this guy basically, he even admitted himself that his family did wicked things, right? And mind you, if somebody's watching this video that knows this guy who I'm talking about, they'll share it to him. They'll mention it. Which we're not afraid of you. We don't give a shit about you. You're a piece of shit. You're a devil, and the Lord's gonna destroy you. No matter how many laws you keep. No matter how much Hebrew and you're destined to destruction, right? And these wicked ass people, man. Just you gotta stay away from them, man. Don't let them in your house, right? These people, man. They're all the same. You'll see the certain characteristics with all these Edomites. They all do the same shit, man. And then when they get caught, they like to play the victim. Because mind you, Esau, he likes to do this thing called, it's not mirroring, what's the word? He likes to put the blame on people. He likes to put the victim card, right? He likes to put that victim card. He likes to do this thing called deflecting, right? So whatever, he's struggling with, whatever his insecurities are, he likes to put them on other people, right? Because he might been having a bad day at work. He might have been doing all these things, but he likes to just test people, tick people off, because he gets a thrill out of that. He gets a rush out of that, because he knows his power is coming to an end, right? And at the end of the day, this devil, he's just salty. He's just jealous that we're gonna get that blessing, and he's not gonna get it. Right, this is the book of Revelation 12:12. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." Right, and that's exactly what this devil Esau Edom has, a short time left before he's gonna get put into slavery for 1,000 years, man. And those are gonna be 1,000 long ass years for this fucking piece of shit. This devil, he's not, that's why he's doing whatever he can to, he's going to try to microchip everybody. He's going to try to get all the women he wants. He's going to try to kill all the people he can, because he knows he got only a short time to be in power. And, this is why you see these Edomites, man, they're always trying to piss off Jake. They're always trying to provoke us, because they want a reason to use their sword, aka their blessing, aka their gun, right, which is the modern day sword, right? And this is exactly what this devil had. He used that. He basically have this guy had knives, guns, right, shotguns, and pistols, and he would even go out in public, with his gun, trying to waiting for someone to test him. Through the spirit, I could tell, someone was waiting. He was waiting to use that gun, and that's when I started to know, this dude isn't a fucking Edomite. He's a devil, and, for the people that are friends with him, because, mind you, this guy was once somebody, we thought he could have been Jake, but, after actually, being around him more, we realized shortly after, this dude's a fucking Edomite. The brother Selah saw it, and the brother Yawasop, brother Sarah, we all could tell this dude's a fucking Edomite. And, these people, man, you'll see things in common, their forefathers did terrible things. They use guns. They brag about their guns. They're prideful. They don't want to be told what to do. They always want to be teaching people, right? This is all a common, characteristic of an Edomite. Or not even characteristic, but, a spirit, right? Because Esau, he likes to, say things like personality, character traits. No, what they really are, they're spirits, right? Esau wants to give a scientific name for these things, but these are spirits. And, all these, these so-called white people, these Edomites, they're the same, man. These true, truly Edomite. I'm not talking about, a white person that's actually an Israelite foreigner, right? Because those are different things, man. I'm talking about, these true Edomites, these cold-blooded, red meat, raw meat eating fucking evil ass people. These people, man, they have the same characteristics, man. The same spirit on them, right? And if you've been around them for long enough, because you might have a work, or you might have a job, you'll know, how fucking annoying they are, how evil, wicked they are, right? So basically, this guy, we basically ended up telling him, you gotta go, right? You gotta get out of here. And you can tell, even on his face, on the look on his face, he did not like that. And mind you, we gave this guy, lots of opportunity, lots of work, right? Lots of, we gave him, financial aid, a place to stay. And right after, man, he started, basically telling other people, telling other people things about us, right? Which we know that through the spirit, this man was saying bad things about us because, other people started messaging us saying what happened, right? But this devil, man, he tried to, usurp his authority, and he didn't like that, right? And you can win your carnal battles, you can win your, you get the last say. Because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, we're going to get the last say. Jake is going to get the last say in all of this. The elect is going to get the last say, the righteous men. If you ain't going to get beamed up by that chariot, we don't fucking care about you, man. If the Lord ain't delivering you out of this place, we don't care about you. Right? It's the book of Job 30:8, and it says, they were the children of fools, the children of base men. They were viler than the earth. So these people are more disgusting than the shit on the fucking floor. These people are dirty, lying. They have that sleazeball mentality. Fuck everybody over and get to the top. They all have the same characteristics, the same spirit. They'll do similar things, scamming, crypto scamming, robbing, taking what's theirs and then claiming it as their own. Which, mind you, a lot of these inventions were made by Jake. They weren't invented by Esau. Esau just likes to put his branding on it, right? They were the children of fools, man. These people are retarded. They actually learn everything from us. They only learn it, and then once they figure out everything from us, then they start saying, oh, we did this, we made this, right? But they don't like to respect those boundaries. So you cannot let these people in your house. And also, the shit that they're doing, when it's closed doors, I mean, who knows what the fuck they're doing, Bestiality, right? Sodomy. Eating abominable ass foods when no one's looking. Dude, this is the shit that they fucking do, right? Yet you'll see some of them trying to keep the laws, and even though these laws are not for them, right? you know, but a lot of them are eating abominable ass foods, right? They just use that as an excuse to try to try to get a part in this thing, right? They try to, because they these people believe that they're going to be able to cleave on to Israel, which the only people that are going to be grafted in as the Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles that were actually Israelites, but they started being called Gentiles because they took on the customs of the heathen, right? Which the Lord knows, who's really an Israelite, who goes back to that seed of Jacob, right? And you can discern by the Spirit. You're not going to be able to discern by just skin color, which a lot of these people believe, because they're carnal, right? But you cannot let these Edomites in your home, man. It's just don't be helping them. Don't be trying to give a helping hand, because next thing you know, one thing leads to another, and then they asking you for all this shit, and then they just take everything you got, right? We see that pattern happening, to the tribe of Judah, to the tribe of Levi, to the northern kingdom, right? To Gad, right? Now Esau is trying to get his hands on certain oil, the oil rigs in Venezuela, where Esau is trying to get his hands on that now, those oil reserves, right? So that's pretty much it for this lesson. Lord willing, it was edifying. I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at GMS who teach and roll well. Peace and salutations to the Lord's elect and the 1/3. And shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel and you scattered Israelite foreigners. Shalom.